Like that music? Yeah! That's a song I made in my garage band for my intros to my chess games. Yeah! I got my garage band back. We pumping with music, baby. Hey, let's do some more chess. Welcome to the Backyard Professor Chess Videos. I have another Bobby Fischer game. Here he is playing black, and he is playing a gentleman named Turner. And Fischer does the King's Indian defense. Let's see how he handles this Turner cat. Bobby's going to open knight f6, of course. And he's going to fianchetto his bishop, of course, his opponent. It looks like he's going to do likewise, which they do. Bishop g2. Hey, that was poetic, which they do. Yeah. Whatever. Stop it. Okay, now we got the castle. So we are going smooth. Development is well. Fischer will bump the d6. Both of White's knights are out. Fischer brings his knight out. And now his opponent will castle. So, kings are tucked away, opening going good. At this point, Fischer doesn't want, he wants to guard that square from any intrusions at this point. Not bishop, you idiot. Pawn, there we go. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Holy cow, my eyes are bleary. Fischer puts his rook on the B column. And now we're going to see a reshuffling of the knights on his opponent's part. And Fischer brings up, puts tension in the center. Not a problem. He's going to continue putting his knight on the queen wing. So, this could be an interesting battle. Fischer's going to bring his bishop out, tickle the queen. Of course, we saw that happen, right? Now here, Fischer makes a passive move. Kind of a weaker option. He brought his bishop to here. And, I mean, yeah, but a better move, I've got this written down, yeah, is e take d4. And then when his opponent responds by taking d4, then bishop f5 would have been better. That would have been better for Fischer rather than the passiveness. It opens up a central file, which would have been fun to see him fight for, huh? But that is not what we have. So we have the passive bishop d7, which is good. We'll see what happens after this. And now his opponent presses the pawn. So he releases the pressure, but not through exchange, but through advancing, giving him more space, which is always a good thing. Alekan loved to do this a lot. And now c5. So we're actually seeing a somewhat central pawn roller here, aren't we? This is really interesting. And now Fischer, he is going to rearrange his knights rather than relieve the tension just yet. Okay? This is kind of an interesting option on his part. His opponent continues gaining more space by pressing those central pawns. Yeah, that's really interesting to see. And of course, Fischer will not let that remain unchallenged. He wants to at least have the option of, because he's looking pretty cramped right now, isn't he? So he wants to leave the option open of trying to make it so that he can expand a little bit more and get a little bit more comfortable. They leave the tension, continue bringing out pieces. That's kind of interesting to see that. It's not a crucial necessity to just immediately relieve tension, whether it's in the center, the wings, wherever. In the early stages, it's probably better to rapid development than hurry up and get rid of all the tension. Kind of interesting how we see this happen. And now Fischer bumps his pawn to f4. Very interesting fighting spirit here. His bishop bumps to f2, and now the pawn takes. And the comment is g5 might have even been a better option for fighting. Yeah, that actually gives a better play for Fischer. But Fischer, you know, he became one of the fiercest attackers in all of chess. He was terrifying. And we can kind of see, he's only 13 here. I think this is the last, I'm approaching his 14th year in his collection of tournament games. And I think this is the last of his 13th year, so that we will see him even getting stronger at his attacking. But, I mean, this is Bobby attack. And he does so. We're going to see another real beautiful characteristic of Bobby coming up here just in a couple of seconds here. That's quite fun. And now he brings the 5. And the knight will shift back over. And now he brings up his knight to g6. And now he acquires the c4 knight, or the c4 square for his knight, which is a really wonderful square on this wing. That's nice placement there. Yes, he maneuvered his knight. He had to make a couple of moves. This again illustrates this theme. The knight just isn't doing a lot there. You can see that f4 is the much better square. It's much more advanced. It does add pressure to the central pawns. Yeah. So it's been worth it. And you say, well, I have to make an extra move. That's okay. It's been worth it. Bobby has been occupied over here. It has been worth the extra move to put that knight on a better square. And you say, well, he's not fully developed. This is true. And see, this is the balancing act, isn't it? I mean, this is why we love this game. Because you have to make every mistake in order to learn how to play it better, right? And so go ahead and make the mistakes. In the process, just the lesson I would propose is we keep in mind that you always want to improve your position. And so this can't be wrong. Look, the center is really clogged. Almost locked. So it's okay to take an extra move to maneuver to a better position for your knight, because this board we see is chock full of pawns and pieces in the center. It's crowded. So it's okay to maneuver your pieces to better square. It's not an open board by any means. And so we see the logic here. That is okay. That makes sense. I'm not trying to hyperventilate here with all kinds of extra superfluous commentary, but that's really important. And now here comes Bobby up the H file. Now, again, just to reiterate, the center is really somewhat stuck. It's locked. Nothing's going to come over or through the center. So go to the wings. The other element I will add that we all have already thought of, but I'm going to reiterate it anyway, is in this kind of a positional game, the knights have extra value, don't they? Because technically speaking, they can hop over the pawns. Those pawns in the center limit the bishop's range, don't they? So, white manipulating and maneuvering his knights is an accurate strategy also. That's another element of this particular setup. I mean, nothing's really super dangerous. He's just trying to get his knights into the best position possible. And now here comes his queen as well. So this is really good. And Bobby keeps riding. This is the other characteristic of Bobby Fischer I was going to mention. And we'll see another one here just shortly. Bobby, when he pushes that H-pawn, he just, he drops it and goes like crazy. He is in full attack mode. The other thing to see, there are several ways to do a Kingside attack, I agree. But pushing the pawns, backing them with pieces, is a great way to do a Kingside attack. So we see the setup here, and so Bobby's going for it, right? I just wanted to point that out. Now his opponent does not open up. He presses the pawn. He wants to try to keep his king covered. That's a great strategy against your opponent if you are getting your king attacked. And Bobby relentlessly keeps coming in here. This is really interesting. His opponent makes a terrific move here. It actually got an exclamation point. He did not take that pawn. He bumped his bishop back to 1, H1. And he got a good job on that. Here's why. Because if he had taken it, then the rook comes down. And his attack is much stronger, not weaker. That's interesting, isn't it? That's fun to see. So just because your opponent's throwing a pawn down there doesn't necessarily mean you need to break up your pawn structure or that you need to attack that pawn immediately, etc. It doesn't mean you need to get rid of it. Well, he's right in my territory. Yeah, that's all good. That's okay. But realize he's got the partial open file, and in this instance, he did choose the correct move. Now, that's really cool to see. You know, we all get nervous, I know, me especially. Oh my gosh, he's bringing the pawn. I've got to get rid of that pawn. I've got to get rid of that pawn. Not right now, you don't, because again, when you look, stop, look at the board, the king is not in imminent danger yet. So let's keep playing this. This is really cool how he does this. And now you're saying, oh yes, see, but white blew it. Whoa. I'm under attack. I'm in siege. Easy. Easy. Just watch. White handles this real well. Sincerely. And you go, why didn't he take the knight? Why don't just take the knight? Shh, just watch. This is so instructive how he does this. Yeah, I mean, he would have even had 2 double pawns up, but that would have opened up the king enormously for rooks and the queen. So, watch. This is really interesting how this works. Another characteristic of Bobby. And this is so magnificent how he does this. I love how he does this. So, we have just stuff over on that wing, right? Really, truly, the center is, for all intents and purposes, completely locked. So what's Bobby do? Here we go on the other wing. He always did that, man. Well, I shouldn't say always, but one of the characteristics of Fischer, and developing this theme, developing this attitude, just oomphed his chess. It made him so powerful. And all the truly great players always play on all sides of the board. So, I mean, you're right in the middle of this, Bobby. Keep it going. So forget it. I'm going to go on this wing now. That is remarkable. And of course, his pawn will take en passant, and so Fischer will respond, and now he has double pawns plus a file. So that creates a file for him to utilize, or if his opponent wants, for his opponent. Gotta always keep that in mind, yeah. So this is kind of nifty to see, and now his knight will come to e3. Again, a shuffling of the knights, and Bobby proceeds onward on this wing. Very interesting. And look at this. Very nice outpost, right? Not permanent, but what a sweet outpost for his knight. Very interesting. And Bobby just keeps right on trucking. Look, you've got a rook backing up your pawn. Blitz that baby down as far as you can get. Let's see what kind of disequilibrium you can give your opponent. My suspicion is that's what Bobby is attempting to do here. And actually, he's doing decent. He's doing decent. So his opponent comes to knight d1, and now he will exchange that knight. Yeah. Yeah. You know, if you find yourself in a situation where your opponent gets that kind of a knight, and it's on a castled kingside, and both kingsides have had their pawns advanced, so technically there are weak squares around the kings. Yeah, you know, leaving that knight there, no, Bobby's correct. Exchange the knight. Sincerely, that was well done. That was well done. You can't leave that just, yeah, that was the right approach, Bobby. Very good, very good. And then G takes, and now Bobby finally gets his knight off of that last rank. See, and this makes sense too. I just want to quickly elaborate. All of his other pieces are doing stuff, well, except for the queen, but really, truly, that knight just looks awful there. It really does. He moved it there with the intent of getting it at a better position. Now's the time. Truly, now's the time. Start putting your pieces in better positions. So that's why the move here, and his opponent does the same thing. His knight on d1 just did not inspire any kind of confidence. The other thing he wants to do is he wants to connect his rooks and get them into the game. We've got files here. So yeah, put the knight back into it. Don't leave it on the rim for very, very long if you can at all help it. And now Bobby keeps right on coming. So again, he's going to, you notice he switched from this side back over to this side. He keeps coming back and forth and back and forth. That's fun to see, right? Knight h5, and now the king will get involved. King h2. Sure, use the king. Technically, he's got pretty good cover still. The rook is not over here on the open file, and yes, that's a passed pawn. That is a passed pawn. And what do you do to pass pawns? You blockade them. So yes, get your king up here. The other cool thing it does, once again, is Bobby's tickling the bishop, so you get up here and block the pawn and guard your bishop. That's a great move. Just pointing out the obvious, but it's really good. Now, rook c8, and here, and as a rule, truly take the file. Right, but in this instance, the comment is knight f4 is better for now. That will enhance Bobby's capability to attack. I'm just saying. One, because it will bring in another pawn here. If the bishop does take, then he uses this pawn, and it opens up a partial file for his rook again, but it opens up the center so that he can continue bringing his pieces in. So in this instance, that would have been the better move. We understand, but he did choose rook c8, which is good thinking. The rooks belong on the open files, yes, but we've got a lot going on over here. What he did is he sacrificed the b pawn, and he did it just a little bit prematurely. And now the thing is, though, you say, well, he did get the exchange with the bishop. This is true. It also does, however, centralize further the white king. And you say, but wait a minute, we're in the middle game. And it's probably dangerous to have the king exposed closer toward the center. Look again. That white king is not exposed. Now this is we're going to see a beautiful Artur Yusupov lesson here. White is building a fortress. Technically, he's already got the fortress built around his king. His king is truly not in imminent danger, Will Robinson. No, it's really not. It is advantageously placed closer to the center. Granted, it's the middle game still, but it's all good. Let's see what goes on. And here, I mean, he is relentless with his pawns, isn't it? Very interesting. Very interesting to watch Bobby function with the pawns. The F will take the G pawn, and now bishop h6. Here comes Bobby, and you say, holy cow, though, Bobby's king is completely open and exposed. Hold it. I understand the thinking, and that's not incorrect. What we see here, and see this again, there's so many elements in chess, but these are the things we want to keep reiterating and practicing and watching as Bobby learns them also. The center is pretty clogged up. So true, Bobby's king looks pretty doggone naked up there, but not attacked yet. Yeah, no. So many options. He is getting involved. And you say, well, here we go. Rook f3, here we go. Bishop b5. Nice post for Bobby. Queen will bump back to d2. She is needed over here. And bishop f4 check. Bishop f4 check. Here, see, he's going to try to justify the attack. That makes perfect sense. Rook c4 would have, that says rook c4 is better. Why though? Because the knight would just take it. Oh no, it wouldn't, because the knight is pinned to the queen. See, you always want to look. You always want to look. So the commentator was right. Rook c4, what rook c4 would have done is instead of, see, what we have here with his bishop move is a one-piece attack, right? There's not a lot of support. By bringing the rook into this, there would have been a much better, in the long run, a much better support. That was the idea behind saying that at this point was better, but Bobby went ahead. The nice thing is he's relentless with his attack. This is really good to see, yeah? Well, the rook takes the f4. The rook takes the f4. It is a one-piece attack. Yes, white chooses to go down the exchange, but is he down the exchange, really? E takes, check. And now king takes f4. The pawn on h3, yes, it's passed, but have you noticed it's been sitting there for several moves? It is dangerous. I'm not going to say it's not dangerous, but it's not critical to eliminate it yet because it's not going to get in, right? You can see that. So it appears, look at that fortress that the king is in. Right there in the center of the board. That's really cool. That's nice to see, right? And you say, not cool, I'm a Bobby Fischer fan. That's really cool no matter whose fan you are. And you can try to set yourself up like that if at all possible. Notice the four connected pawns in the center coming at a completely bare wing. Ooh. And that's not dangerous at this point because there's plenty of firepower back here to take care of it. It's always good to survey the board, check out the position, see what your options and what strategies that will lead to. Notice this rook ain't playing much yet. He's got to get hurrying. I'm just pointing stuff out. Queen f6, here comes Bobby. Again, at that king's. You notice the attack is just steady. However, it's only one piece at a time, right? And you can't get the king finished with just one piece at a time. But we're seeing an excellent relentlessness here of Bobby Fischer. And yeah, g5. One of the other options would have been, rather than whoop. Oh shoot! Hang on, I'm dropping the queen on her head, and she's yelling at me. One of the options Bobby had, rather than here, was to h4. That would have been interesting, wouldn't it? It would have got at least through and down into behind the king, possibly. So that was an option, but we did go to here. And now his opponent pushes the g5. Yeah, and now queen e5, check. So again, the one-piece attack. Now granted, this is the most powerful queen, and she is beautifully centralized, that's true. But it is just a one-piece attack, after all. And now we see a classic move. Rook f7. The proverbial wrong rook to move. Dang it, man, but this is how you learn. So we get to learn with Bobby as he makes mistakes. That was the wrong rook to bump up. This is the one you wanted to bump up and go that way. So, and this is all a good lesson. This is all a good lesson. And g6, here we go. Boy, that's a pawn roller now, and it's backed up by the queen. So now you gotta almost pay attention. Now you start saying, okay, well, I really have to do something significant here. Double rooks on a file. You know that so far he hasn't been able to use that file much running up and down in an attack, however. He has had it, but it hasn't played much of a part just yet. So, see, this is the psychology, and it's what makes good players great. You get the file, well, you want to use it. There's nothing wrong in thinking that. That's how you must think. However, in this instance, it doesn't give you the oomph. Dadgummit. But the theme is correct. I really want to make a big deal about that because the commentator did. And now this bishop, again, put your pieces on the best squares. Always try to improve your pieces and your position. It is doing a job on h1. It is doing a better job on f3. That pawn, the queening square is covered, of course, here too. So that pawn's not getting in. So the worst square on the whole board for a bishop is right there. It did serve its purpose. It's going to continue serving its purpose. Interestingly, it's a defensive purpose. And yet it's so powerful. It is supporting the pawn in that central pawn group, isn't it? On the E file. This is awesome. It's a defensive piece during an attack of Bobby's constant relentlessness, but what a job it's doing. I just want to point that out as well. Very, very important. And king comes now. So Bobby is essentially placed as he is with his pieces. He's got one more piece that he can put to work. He's in, basically, we're in a middle game, but we're approaching the end. Bring in your king. It is a fighting piece. I know. I say that every video because we see it every video. Very good, very good. And here we go, rook h1. Now white is fully developed. But you notice he's really on a great square, and rook h8. Yeah, every passed pawn needs a rook behind it. Every passed pawn. Put your rook behind passed pawns. Did I say put your rook behind passed pawns? That is proper. I promise. Well, he goes ahead and takes the pawn. Hey, it's a passed pawn. Take it. You say, well, but I thought you wanted your rook. And he loses his rooks, and it leaves Bobby a rook. Take the passed pawn when it's that close. This is a great lesson. Honest. And now the rook will come back up, and he'll exchange the rooks. So Bobby does get the open file on the king side. Let's see if Bobby can get something going here. Queen will come to c3. Queen will take c3. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Wait. Do I see a strategy going on here? You say, well, that was almost silly because he divided his two pawns. He divided his two pawns. Could he be looking for a way to draw down the powers because he's got such powerful pawns he can push them in? One of the best ways to help yourself get one of these little dudes in here is exchange pieces quick. That's what we're beginning to see. Very interesting. Now Bobby has to really play like crazy. How do you do it? Endgame, bring your king out. Beautiful illustration. Endgame, bring your king out and watch his opponent's reaction. What? If you've been watching my last previous videos, you know what white's going to do here. Absolutely. Take the opposition. Keep his king back there. Don't let Bobby get his king advancing like that. Don't do something else over here, you know, stupidly, idiotically threaten his bishop so that Bobby can move his king into there. No, do not do that. The absolute correct move is take the opposition and keep him out. That's beautiful. That is a beautiful illustration of using your kings. This is wonderful. So the rook, and you say, yeah, well, now here comes the attack. Well, sure. He's got the file, use it. Fundamentally so, absolutely. Excellent move, Bobby. It does bump the bishop back, but it does not lose the power of the support of that pawn. Tickling the rook, of course, and then he goes check. Yes, of course. Ooh, he's got a knight. Again, I just want to point out a feature here that is so well illustrated by white, and that is building a centralized fortress around a centralized king, that's awesome. White really does it just about as good as I have ever seen done in any game. This is wonderful to see this. Bobby will come back to King G7. Now, it was here that Bobby resigned. Notice this. There's really not a lot to do here with this. He needs this on this side somewhere. I mean, I suppose he could. Let's see, it comes back to here. That doesn't do a lot. That really does absolutely nothing. This just gives you another diagonal, but it doesn't do anything. And your bishop is unguarded, so that opens you for tactics because you still have other. So, really, whoops, sorry, I put that on the wrong one. Oh, what an idiot. Sorry, I meant he could come to here or to here. Bobby, in moving his king, immediately gave his opponent his next move. The king. Without question. Don't worry. It's interesting because the bishop has been so doggone limited, and yet it's been such a powerful support piece to maintain this island here, up here. All connected pawns. All advanced connected pawns together. Wow, that's powerful. Rather than, and of course the knight is pinned, but rather than worry about getting things up or whatever, he immediately takes the opposition. Touching the rook. Now, here's the other thing. That square is unacceptable to the rook. That square is not usable. That square is not usable. Now 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 that square is not usable. The only thing he has is there. And white has his king in opposition. He's moved his king away from the center. He's not coming back into the center. That's fabulous to see how white responded with a king move and nothing else. Keep his king out of there. So Bobby literally has nothing left. He's got to resign. So darn it, unfortunately that's a Bobby Fischer loss. However, fantastic concepts that all of the great grandmasters want to teach us are demonstrated in this fabulous game. Even though Bobby lost, remember, in working through these games about Bobby Fischer, going through his entire career, we also will find ourselves elevating in our knowledge and our own capability, and hallelujah, that's what makes chess fun. So thank you for watching my Backyard Professor Chess videos. Be good, do well, have fun, make lots of friends, and be happy. Keep smiling, because I'm coming back with more videos, and I will see you in those Backyard Professor Chess videos.